Welcome back to In Focus. It's the universal question that's vexed mankind since the dawn of time. Are we alone, or is there life beyond our earthly bounds? The topic is front and center on Capitol Hill as lawmakers examine the possibilities of unidentified flying objects, better known as UFOs. A former intelligence officer was among the witnesses appearing Wednesday before the House National Security Subcommittee, making some earth-shattering revelations.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Joining me now with more, pastor of Sunrise Baptist Church in Las Vegas and founder of Get a Life Media Ministry, Pastor Billy Crone. Thanks so much for being back with us so soon. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Allison. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So what do you make of former U.S. intelligence official David Grush's statement at the House hearing stating that we recovered non-human remains from an alien craft?
Yeah, well, actually, if you read the Bible, this shouldn't surprise you. Because I think this is all part of a custom-tailored last days deception to explain away the very event that God says is next on his prophetic time calendar. And that event is called the Rapture of the church. And that is when God evacuates all born-again Christians, takes them off the planet before the worst time in the history of mankind is thrust upon the planet. The Bible calls that time the 7-year tribulation. So if, in fact, that event is going to happen and you're going to see millions of people disappear and you're an enemy of God, then what would you be doing? You better be coming up with the best excuse you can think of to explain away why all of a sudden these people disappeared, and specifically and only specifically Christians. Well, believe it or not, that's exactly what we have with the alien deception. They're called aliens. I agree with that guy. They're non-humans. But I don't agree with their assessment that they are a higher evolved race of beings from the other side of the solar system or galaxy or whatever here to help us. It's a deception. They call them aliens. The Bible calls them demons. And they are right now being used to become the perfect excuse to explain away, hey, what happened to those people when all of a sudden they disappeared off the planet? And again, what should you expect if we're getting close to that event the Bible calls the rapture? Then you should see exactly what we're seeing in the news right now. And that is, for decades, we've known that the government and the governments around the world have completely denied any existence of aliens, alien crafts, whatever. A few years ago, you noticed that they immediately switched gears and they started to say, well, yeah, I guess there are some craft that we see out there that seem to be alien, not of indigenous to planet Earth. Now what you're seeing is the next step that you can expect. And they are now saying not only crafts, but these beings, these non-human beings are in these crafts. And they're starting to admit that now. And the reason why is because it's called soft disclosure, predictive programming. If you're going to use the alien UFO thing to explain away the rapture of the church, then you have to slowly work people up into that. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. So I'm not surprised by it because I'm convinced it's the excuse to explain away what happened to those people that disappeared.
Wow, fascinating stuff. And I sure hope you're right. I sure hope this does indicate that Jesus' second coming is on the horizon and coming very soon. I think a lot of people would say that this is all a distraction for something. You say it's that. A lot of people would say it's all the insanity going on with Hunter and the Biden crime family. But I'd like to stay optimistic and think that it's our Lord returning soon. Since you are a pastor and have studied this topic for so many years, what would you say we are supposed to do given the fact that, you know, there are demonic entities upon us? How are we supposed to respond to this information, and what do we do?
Well, number one, the best thing that a person can do is to receive Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. I came out of this group. I was involved in, before I became a Christian 30 years ago, I hated Christians. I was one of those people. I was a big skeptic. I'd be the first one to line up and say the Bible's a book full of errors written by man. Don't touch it. But I was in Satanism and the occult and New Age. Not a good combo, by the way. And I can tell you firsthand, being on that side of the camp, not only is evil real, demons are real, been there, actually seen apparitions with my own eyes. This is not a joke. It's not a game. And but also what is part of that camp, guess what would pop up when I was involved in these occult practices? Aliens.
Wow.
Go figure. Because it's just a repackaging. In fact, let me give you one quick example. I brought this with me today in the office.
Yes.
Again, I came out of the occult, unfortunately. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with a gentleman. His name was Aleister Crowley. And secular researchers say that he was the most evilest man who ever lived. He was involved in serious black magic. He still to this day has had a huge influence on the music industry, Hollywood, etc. But he was contacted by several beings that gave him all this occult knowledge, okay? And one of them was called Lam, Lam. And he actually drew a picture of it. And this is what the picture is of Lam.
Wow.
What does that look like to you?
Well, that sure looks like an
That's
alien to me.
Exactly. It's just one easy way to show it's all the same thing. All they've done is repackage themselves. We live in a skeptical, anti-biblical society today. And of course, you start talking demons, people say, oh, you're a wacko, right? But then all you got to do is repackage them and say, oh, no, they're aliens from another dimensions. They're here to help us. It's the same thing. In fact, let me give you just real quick. This is from secular UFOologists, okay, who admit that when you're honest with the UFO phenomenon and these so-called aliens, oh, they're non-human, all right. They're not aliens, they're demons. And this is what they say. This is Jacques Vallée, okay. He's one of the top guys on the planet. He said this: I do not believe anymore that the UFOs are simply the spacecraft of some race of extraterrestrial visitors. This notion is too simplistic to explain their appearance and their manifestations. He says an impressive parallel can be made between UFO occupants and the, quote, popular conception of demons. And on go. I have lists of secular researchers who are coming to the same biblical conclusion that if you're honest with the facts and what these things do when they show up, how they treat people, they are carbon copy with what they call the age-old demonological phenomenon. And again, I believe that guy was right. These are non-humans, but they're not aliens. They're what the Bible calls demons, and they're here to explain away the rapture.
Absolutely fascinating. It's truly just incredible that we are living through this time and getting to witness this. What are your thoughts, I'm curious to know, on Project Bluebeam? Do you think, I know it's just a conspiracy right now, right? But do you think that perhaps may factor into their efforts to continue on with this alien UFO narrative?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of reasons why this is happening. I agree with you on the, to dare I say, a simplistic term. It is a distraction from a lot of things that are going on. But I think it's a multi-level deception and distraction. The other thing, too, is this has been going on for quite some time. Again, it's warming people up for decades. Hollywood's been a big part of that. And but the governments around the world, they're doing the soft disclosure and things of that nature. But I also believe that this could be used as well to help the global elites do what they want to do. And this is on record. They want to take over the world. So if you're going to take over the world, then you need some sort of global crisis, right, to freak people out in unison, in mass, shock and awe. And that then, see, this is why we all got to band together and work together and things of that nature. So I think that this narrative could also be used to do just that, because that's how they operate. They create a crisis. They manage the outcome. People are more apt to surrender their freedoms in a time of fear than a time of peace. So that would be a global crisis. And again, if you actually have on TV actual so-called these guys popping out, except you don't say that they're demons. You say, oh, there's aliens from another world. How many people would fall for it? Yeah. And then they would say, you know what? In fact, this is on tape. I don't know if you ever saw this. Ronald Reagan, believe it or not, back in the day, in one of his speeches, I've got this on tape, he actually said, he says, and he was talking about the conflict with United States and Russia at the time. He said how quick we would lay down our differences and we would all instantly be united if we had a common experience like with aliens from another world landing on planet Earth. So even he said that it could be used as a tool with that nature. But I got to share this real quick. Again, I came out of the occult, and if you don't think that these things are an explanation to explain away the rapture of the church, this is messages. These are actual messages that I still have in my library behind me from these people who are, quote, receiving messages from these so-called aliens. And listen to what they're saying. This is real quick. There will be great shiftings within humanity on this planet. It will seem like chaos and turmoil is forming, nations rising against nature, earthquakes more frequently. That's no big shakes. That's in the Bible. It's been there for 2,000 years. But they said this, the people who leave the planet during the time of the earth changes do not fit here any longer. They are stopping the harmony of the earth. When the time comes, perhaps 20 million people leave the planet at one time. There will be a tremendous shift in consciousness for those who are remaining. And just one more real quick. They said, quote, our rescue, and this is what the aliens are supposed to be, are telling them to tell the rest of us, our rescue ships will be able to come in close enough at the twinkling of an eye. This will be the method of evacuation. There will be many visits from galaxies and interdimensional beings to rescue people. Quote, some will never die on Earth. These missing people have been taken. They went off in a liftoff in the UFOs.
Wow.
And I remember reading that as a New Ager, a non-Christian, and it wasn't only until after I got saved and I read the book that I used to scoff about, and I'm going like, wait a second, this is a perfect excuse for the rapture of the church. And so if we're getting close to that event, the rapture, and if they're going to use this as an excuse, Allison, what should we expect in the news? They're going to start admitting it more and more, and that's exactly what's happening right now.